Today we're going to be talking about the chapter you should have read of Hatchet. So Hatchet was written by Gary Paulsen, and immediately in the first chapter it starts out really intense, which I'm sure you guys saw. So our standard for today is compare and contrast the experience of reading a story, drama, or poem to listening to or viewing an audio, video, or live version of the text, including contrasting what they see and hear when reading the text to what they perceive when they listen or watch. Our objective today is the students will be able to identify what they're seeing and hearing from the characters throughout the chapters. What we're going to end up doing is while we read the book, we're going to make notes of what we're seeing and what we're hearing, what seems really emphasized, and the things maybe that aren't very emphasized, but we think could maybe have meaning later on. And then after we finish the novel, we're going to watch the movie. The movie is not called Hatchet, though. It's called A Cry in the Wild, but it is based off of the book and it follows it pretty closely. So when we watch the movie, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make some notes of what we're seeing and what we're hearing as we're watching. So let's go over chapter 1 together. Some of the main things that I noticed right off the bat is that we are seeing through Brian's perspective. We are only hearing his thoughts. We are only seeing what he's seeing. And because of that, we are missing out on a lot of things. So he refers to the secret a bunch of times, which is something that happens with his mom and is what he believes led to his parents' divorce. It is not blatantly stated what this secret is. As readers, we can make inferences and kind of gather what we think it means, but until it is blatantly said, we don't know for sure. So we're just gonna have to keep on reading to see what this big secret that his mom did is about. We can also tell that Brian is a very sad character. He is struggling right now, big time. He's on his way from New York to Canada because he spends his summers with his dad. So he spends the school year with his mom and he is boarding this little plane to go visit his dad. On the way there, we see that the pilot is not very friendly. He doesn't really talk much. He's just flying the plane. And he even makes a comment that he's like the machine. He is like the plane. He's just an add-on to the big machine and he's not a real person. But after so long, Brian ends up mentioning how his parents divorced, and that's the first insight we see that he is struggling. It is a new divorce and he is definitely sad about it. He's definitely going through some changes and adjusting in it, and he's not taking it very lightly. He uses that word divorce time after time after time again, and the way he states it is very obvious and he's drawing so much attention to it. He's just saying literally the word divorce and then a period, and then he'll go on to more. So it's this word that keeps intruding on his thoughts, and he's really trying to figure out how to cope with it. So after we get that little insight about his parents' divorce, the pilot does end up speaking to him, and he actually lets Brian fly the plane for a little while. And he realizes that it's pretty cool. He's nervous at first, and the pilot just tells him, you can do it. I'm right here with you. And then after he's flying for a little while, he shows him that the pilot's actually not touching the controls anymore, which could be considered symbolic. And I'd love to hear what some of your thoughts are about that. Maybe, how the theme in that can be displayed. So after that, they don't really talk anymore, the pilot and Brian. And the pilot starts having this shoulder pain. And Brian kind of just lets it go. He doesn't bring any attention to it. The pilot ends up letting out some bodily odors, is how it's mentioned in the book, and Brian doesn't want to draw attention to it because he doesn't want to embarrass him. So then we enter his thoughts again, and his thoughts about his mom bringing him to the airport, and we see that he is very angry with his mom for this secret that we still don't know about. And he feels bad because he knows he's being really harsh on his mom, but at the same time, he has a lot of anger built up, and he doesn't know how to talk about it. She asked him to talk about it, and he doesn't, because clearly it's still fresh. Whatever has happened is still really fresh in his mind, and his mom doesn't know that Brian knows about the secret because she's trying to pry out of him what's wrong. And it is also stated that the dad doesn't know. So we only see from Brian's point of view, so we don't know what this secret is until Brian is willing to tell us about it. So in that memory that he's reflecting on, we see that the mom gives Brian a hatchet. And something that's really important is it's stated that Brian he keeps it on him. And it's stated time and time again over kind of silly things. Like it says he gets in the plane and he still has his hatchet on because he forgot to take it off. And whenever he gets out the car, he still has his hatchet on because he didn't want to upset his mom by taking it off. So these are things that are reiterated, and it's clearly going to be important. It's going to serve as some essence in the future. The novel's titled Hatchet, so I'm sure you could figure out kind of where this is going with that aspect. So then he zones back into the pilot, and the pilot is really struggling. His stomach's starting to hurt. He says his whole left side hurts, and he starts gripping at his shoulder again. So Brian realizes, based on a past memory, that he is having a heart attack. And eventually the pilot, he dies, and it says his eyes rolled back, and that's kind of how it ends. It ends with Brian saying that he is alone, and you guys are kind of close to Brian's age, being in that situation, the way it's written, you can easily identify with how he might be feeling, because he is flying this plane. He has no idea how to fly a plane. He's trying to just go see his dad. He's already got all these issues. And then now this plane is about to crash because the pilot is dead and he's in the passenger seat. So moving on from that, that's kind of the gist of everything. I would love to hear your thoughts of what you think is going to happen right now, because it is a lot that is revealed to us just in that first chapter, and it really starts off with a bang. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to set up your chart that we're going to be working on. Don't lose it. We're going to work on it every day, and you're going to need it too for whenever we go to the movie. So you're just going to make a T-chart. You're going to probably have to go on some more pages. That's okay. And then on one side, we'll put hatchet. On the other side, this will be the movie. So what I would like for you to do for this project is definitely read first. Don't try and pick out things. Read the chapter, really understand what's being said. You can take some notes, but I want you to fully comprehend what you're reading. And then after, go back and write these things that were repeated that you think is important, some of the things you're seeing and hearing through Brian's eyes. So one of the things that I put right off the bat was Brian's thoughts. We're hearing it through Brian's point of view. The next thing is that parents are going through a divorce. I'd also keep these really short, just because you're gonna have such a long list. You don't have to write out full sentences or anything like that. So there's a divorce. My next thing is the secret. We're waiting to find out what this secret is. And that's something that maybe in the movie, they'll say it right away, that this is the secret, or they'll give more clues to what this secret is. Whereas in the book, we don't know what the secret is. The next one that I took note of was the hatchet's description, not only of the way that he has it like on a belt, but also just how often it is said that he doesn't take it off. The author clearly wants you to know that he has this on him. And it is said over and over and over again to where you don't forget that he has it on him. So I'm just gonna put hatchet description. And then my last one is that the pilot grabs at his shoulder and falls over dead. So the details in this is very, very explicit. It goes back and forth. He's grabbing at his shoulder. He describes the smell of what's in the airplane. He describes the eyes rolling in the back of his head. It really puts you in the picture. You're there with Brian whenever he's making these descriptions, and you see what's happening right on side of him. So that's definitely something to make note of. So these are all things you're making this list so that way when we watch the movie you can see, is it reciprocated the way that the book writes it? And finding those contrasts, hopefully you'll be able to see and make contrasts of what is different. How did the movie convey it? Maybe why did they convey it like that? Why is it different? And we can hopefully get a better understanding of what the author's intentions were and why certain things are repeated and gone into so much detail about. So for the next chapter, I want you guys to go through and do this. Like I said, read your chapter first, fully comprehend it, and then you're gonna go and make your list. You're just gonna add on to the bottom. It's gonna be a running list. You probably will have multiple pages. I think it's like 20 chapters, so it is gonna be a lot. But hopefully, whenever we watch the movie, you'll be able to compare and contrast. So, bye guys.